Hello, how are you? It's June. It's June the 13th, 2023. I'm here to share some of my most precious commodity, and that's my time. I'm looking to share time with my kind. And what I mean by my kind are those with eyes that see and ears that hear. So I'm a woman who is hated by the world, as prophesied. There's a constant problem between myself and those of the world. The hatred never stops. The assaults never stop. So what I need to do, and I apologize that this is a repeat, but I now have proof that persons who act as YouTube are deleting comments of mine whenever and however they see fit for no reason whatsoever. And so there's clearly a problem, which is why I have to set up boundaries. And I have to teach the circus monkeys who pretend to be all of these public service platforms that I'm exercising all my rights and waiving none. So what we have at the top of the screen, if you can see this, it probably doesn't show up very well on BitChute. Probably shows up better on YouTube. We have on top of the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, that's the living law. And that living law applies to both the righteous and the wicked. That's why my peculiar people refer to that living law as the common law, because it's common to both the righteous and the wicked. It's common to both the living and the dead. So I just need to remind moderators on all social media platforms that you will not be violating the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women. And then, of course, we have the Act for the Preservation and Enhancement of Multiculturalism in Canada. That's an interesting document. Talks about the Constitution, every individual being equal under the law, has the right to equal protection and benefit of the law without discrimination. Everyone has the right to freedom of conscience, peaceful assembly and association, and guarantees those rights and freedoms equally to all people. So when I'm having comments deleted on purpose out of hatred and discrimination, that violates my right to freedom of speech and freedom of expression, and now that's not a peaceful assembly for me because I'm being attacked by these persons who falsely believe that somehow they're not going to be found out for their hatred of my people. Life is on the record. Life is on the record. Everything we say and everything we do is on the record. No one's getting away with anything. Everything done in secret will be brought into the light, as it's written. So the Constitution of Canada, apparently it recognizes the importance of the preservation and the enhancement of the multicultural heritage of Canadians, which I do not identify as a Canadian. I don't identify as a human because I'm not a human. So, whereas Canada is a party to the International Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Racial Discrimination, a convention that recognizes that my people, who are hated by the world, are equal before the law and entitled to equal protection of the law against discrimination and against incitement to discrimination. And then we've got the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, a covenant that provides that my people, who are both a ethnic and a linguistic minority, will not be denied the right to enjoy our own culture or to use our own language. So everything out of my mouth at all material times is me enjoying my own culture and me using my own language. Do you understand? International Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Racial Discrimination. Now, what's interesting about this convention is Article 5. The right to equal treatment before tribunals and all other organs administering justice. Right, okay. The right to security and protection by the province or the country against violence, bodily harm, whether inflicted by the sewer rats who have been hired to be government officials or any individual group or institution. So an institution would be a bank. An institution would be a court. An institution would be the District of Saanich. An institution would be the Saanich Police Department. So I have the right to take part in the satanic cult passing itself off as government, as well as in the conduct of profane, poisonous public affairs at any level, and have equal access to public service. I am never afforded those rights, ever. Other civil rights, in particular, the right to own property alone, the right to leave any country, including one's own, and to return to one's country. Well, I don't come from a country, I come from a kingdom. And apparently I have the right to leave this hellhole and to return to my own kingdom. The right to inherit, well, that's really strange, because everything I've ever inherited has been stolen by fraud and by force. By government officials, by individual groups, and by institutions who have completely ignored my right to security and completely ignored my right to protection. Those are not funny anymore. Oh, I have the right to freedom of peaceful assembly and association. Well, the sewer rats pretending to be the courts, and the sewer rats pretending to be police, and the sewer rats pretending to be BC Attorney Generals are neither a peaceful assembly nor are they a peaceful association. They have waged war against me. Full-on war. Like, this is battle. I'm in battle. I'm in full battle right now. So we're going to talk about corruption today. Corruption. What's corruption? The definition of corruption is dishonesty. So what constitutes corruption? Breach of trust, bribery, bribing, crime, crookedness, demoralization, exploitation, extortion, fiddling. Okay, fiddling. Fraud, fraudulency. Oh dear. Graft. Ooh. Jobbery, malfeasance, misrepresentation, nepotism, on the take, the payoff, the payola, the profiteering, the racket. Court is a racket. Get that? Do you understand that? That court is a racket? Shadiness, shady deal, shuffle. Satanic shuffle. That's what happens to you when they wage war on you and you have to go into their whorehouse that they're trying to pass off as their courthouse. Skimming, squeeze, unscrupulousness, venality, woo, corruption, oh. Now let's look at what my peculiar people know to be true about the whorehouses here in Canada. So there are some mistranslations here that I'm going to correct now verbally, because people and humans are not the same species. So people wouldn't be taking each other to court unfairly. Those would be those humans. Those would be those fucking chimeras. Those monkey bloods. RH positives. Those are not men and women. Those are animals. They have the same capacity for understanding as an animal. Right? So humans take each other to court unfairly, and no one tells the truth in arguing their case. They accuse each other falsely and tell lies. They cause trouble and create more evil. They hatch evil like eggs from poisonous snakes. If you eat one of those eggs, you're going to die. And if you break one open, a poisonous snake comes out. Here they're talking about court judgments here. They're talking about one of these whores pretending to be the court, has stolen, has robbed one of their neighbors, and then they write down their ugliness and their lies and their poison, and they call it a judgment, which isn't a judgment, it's an opinion. And it's an immoral, arrogant ape opinion. So these humans tell lies as they would spin a spider's web. The webs they make cannot be used for clothes. Everybody in hell doesn't have any clothes on. They're all naked in hell. You can't cover yourselves with those webs, right? Because your character is your clothing. So if you're righteous, your righteous character, your righteous actions become your clothing. So the things these animals do are evil. And they use their hands to hurt others. Well, those aren't hands, they would have hooves, right? Animals have hooves. These sewer rats run eagerly to do evil, and they're always ready to murder innocent people. Killing and murder have nothing to do with each other. Do you need to understand that? To murder is unlawful. Once the act of murder has been committed, the murderer must be purged, must be killed. So these humans think evil thoughts. Everywhere they go, they cause ruin and destruction. They don't know how to live in peace. There is no fairness in their lives. They are dishonest. Anyone who lives as they live will never have peace. That's the truth. That is the truth. Oh, look at here. Look at here. It's too late for these top dogs of the underworld, occult, hidden, private law, foreign, unidroit, star chamber, dog Latin, criminal, debased language system. What are they wearing? What the fuck are you wearing? What kind of outfit is that? Well, I'm going to tell you what kind of outfit that is, because that's my job. That's what I do. Oh, look at this. Oh, it's... Oh, what the... Okay, so, yeah, the Santa, which is equal to Satan. The Santa suit wearing immoral, arrogant, abomination, barf member, wolf in sheep's clothing who falsely believes it's above the law. And they all believe that. You have to understand that. They all believe that they're above the law. And we're going to get into that in a second here. Oh, okay, so this is a very old photo. But this is a photo of the things who pretend to be the Supreme Court of Canada. All wearing Santa suits. What are you wearing? Why are you wearing that? You dressed up like Santa? Are you now? Okay. Well, let's take a look at why they're wearing those outfits. Those satanic, demonic outfits. So Santa Claus is equal to the, well, it's a demon, right? The demon Thor. So the bizarre and mutual attributes of Thor and Satan are no accident. I can only conclude that the original ancestor of our modern Santa Claus is none other than the mythological dark helper, a faint memory of Herni, or Pan, the ancient shamanic nature spirit of the old religion. Note, Herni or Pan is the horned god. Goat, think Baphomet, think perversion, think pervert, think profane. It's commonly known that Pan and Herni are popular names for Satan. Right. So that's why they're letting you know who they are. They're letting you know who they are. The Satanic Bible lists Pan as one of the infernal names of Satan. So those are Satan's agents. And they have ascended through the satanic cult that is Canada and is the provincial governments, to wreak havoc and to create chaos and murder, theft, and destruction on their neighbors. That's what they do. That's what they're paid to do. And I would only know this because I've had my life and my family completely destroyed by these profane poisonous parasites. So Proverbs 28:11. The rich witches are wise in their own eyes, but those who are poor and possess discernment, we see how deluded they are. Oh, are you kidding me? You don't think I see? You don't think I hear? You have any idea how many times I've been into that whorehouse? Dozens. Not only sitting there and listening to what's happening, but so I can myself be raped by one of these sewer rats pretending to be the court. So for the vast majority of victims who find themselves caught up in this vortex of venal depravity and perversion without the financial means to hire high-priced liars, barf members, there's little recourse for them but to vainly cry out for help and recognition to avenues of public recourse such as the RCMP Complaints Commission, human rights organizations, BC Civil Liberties Association, Ombudsman, and other miscellaneous agencies and government ministries. Okay, so a ministry constitutes a religion. So what religion is the government then? If their public service agencies are referred to as ministries, what religion is the government practicing? The religion of Satanism, humanism. I mean, all the isms you can think of, it's all satanic. It all has no life in it. That ostensibly consists to protect the victims of crime here in every province, only to end up with the realization that all of them ultimately are but false and disappointing ruses whose primary purpose is to act as firewalls of protection for these public servant criminals themselves. The sad and growing reality for all of the thousands upon thousands of victims of these forms of abuse is that the psychopaths have taken over the levelers of government, and foreign lobby groups representing the most voracious, avaricious, vile, and decadent nation on the face of the planet have filled our national and provincial judiciary with cold-blooded, cruel pigs. And nobody in their right mind wants a ticket to their shit show. Because you won't be heard, you won't be respected, none of your rights will be upheld. Because these sewer rats actually falsely believe that they're above the law. So let's take some look at some information here from the Canadian Justice Review Board. So if you're not aware, you're about to become painfully aware that Canada is corrupt when it comes to choosing judges. They don't have judges here. Those are not judges. Those are not justices. Those are bought and paid for criminals. They're criminals. They have criminal minds and they have criminal intent when you go in there. They've already decided what's going to happen to you before you even fucking step foot in their fucking whorehouse that they're trying to pass off as a courthouse. So some facts you probably didn't know. Canada judiciary appointments are among the most corrupt in the entire world. Well, isn't that good news if you're a Canadian, right? Isn't that good news? And by the way, that's not an opinion. Oh, official Canadian mythology dictates this secrecy equals independence. Oh, it's secret, is it? Secret? Well, secrecy is a form of Satanism. Yes, it is. Yeah. The traditions help breed a culture in which Canada's lawyer judicial complex understands itself to be entirely self-governing, self-regulating, and self-perpetuating. Oh, fucking A. One could say the Canadian judiciary is barely a branch of the government at all these days, but simply a free-floating thing unaccountable to anyone but the lawyers who get jobs and money from it. Did you hear what I just said? At this point, you should be completely fucking unglued and fucking irate, like out of your mind with rage. Because if you're not outraged, it's because you're not paying attention. And you are responsible for what goes on around you. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you are. I don't care what you think you are. If you're not actively standing up against these fucking pigs, pukes, and dogs, you are part of the problem. You are part of the problem. This is going to stop. These witches who pretend to be justices in Canada, they're jokers. They're not justices at all. They are murderers, they are thieves, and they are destroyers. They are the spawn of Satan. Yes, they are. I have experience, okay? I have experience. This is testimony. This is a deposition I'm providing. This is a public service I'm providing. I'm a woman who tells the truth because I'm a woman who knows the truth. This is why I'm not welcome in this world. And that's fine. I don't like being here anyway. But I'm here and I got a job to do and I'm real good at what I do. Yeah, you got to get called to the barf. Oh, called to the barf. Oh, look at this. Oh, the Canadian Judicial Council, which doesn't even fucking exist. That is just a coven of evildoers. That's what that's made up of. Oh, it's under fire by a federal judge. Right, again, look at these fucking titles. What kind of titles are these? And what is this fucking thing wearing? Now, you need to understand the red, the white, and the black signifies skull and bones. It's evil. Right? It's signifying that we worship and serve our father, Satan. We are the devil's degenerates. And yet we falsely believe we have jurisdiction over the living. We don't. Oh, look, it's retiring. Retiring Superior Court judge, yeah, right, who was subject of public inquiry, hits out at the Canadian Judicial Council's terrible multi-million-dollar investigative process. So, okay, so look at all these fucking witches making money. And we're talking multi-million dollars. You've got an investigative process that's going to go nowhere? Really? You going to put up with that? Okay, no faith in the integrity in the Canadian Judicial Council, says retiring judge. Council overruled its own multi-million-dollar decision process. So you've just got literally chimeras, just with no hope and no future, all born in vain, right? Making all this money, being corrupt. It overrules its own decisions. Politically driven committees intimidate and destroy judicial independence. See, the doublespeak is just too much for me to take. Like, the mind-spinning doublespeak, you know, the mind of these fucking monkeys just fucking spins on stupid. It really does. Little or no integrity. Well, there's little or no integrity in any of these fucking pukes that are called to the barf either, so... Oh, they backtrack on their own recommendations. Complaints against federal judges usually handled in secret? And you're only investigating 180 complaints a year? Really? Really? And you a Canadian, you're okay? You anywhere in the world, are you okay with this? Because there's no way you can be, right? So the justice system, consisting of sewer rats and liars who have turned the justice system into a monopolistic justice system for those who are licensed by the system to operate and profit from it. This is basically, it's not basically, it is. It's a license to steal. A license to do anything that would otherwise be illegal within their corporate paper world. The rest of the people who are not members of these satanic societies, these private for-profit criminal organization societies, are forced to pay dearly, that's extortion, for the use of a satanic legal system because it's been set up by Satanists for the benefit of these Satanists. Those who refuse or could not afford to pay for the satanic solicitation services provided by the satanic system are completely shut out from the justice system. In other words, in their paper-based system, if you have the paper, you are now licensed to do whatever the paperwork you hold says you can do. Well, that's not going to work for the righteous. No. Unless you can produce the paper that I sign that says you can do to me what I would otherwise not allow anyone to do, you, Satan, will be getting behind me. And that goes for every single witch responsible for the first act of genocide against myself and my biological real property, and then you fucking came and you did it to me again when you attacked me and my spouse with another act of genocide. Yeah, well, exactly. Let me stop you right there. You're fucking stupid. You're fucking stupid. All you fucking BARF members are all the fucking same. You're all cut from the same cloth. Oh, yes, you are. Because you realize if you ever try to go into one of these whorehouses and claim your rights and try to work remedy and justice for yourself and your family, do you have a license to do that? Will be the puke sitting on the bench is what this fucking puke is going to try to say to you, right? Well, I'm afraid the practice of law is an occupation of common right, and I don't need a license to hold you to account. And once you committed a crime against me and my family, I don't care who the fuck you are, or what kind of fucking letters you have after your fucking cursed name, I'm coming for you. And I'm not going to stop until you're destroyed. You showed no mercy, and you will be showed no mercy. And I don't care how long this takes. We play the long game, the peculiar people. And even if and when you do murder us, you better believe that we're back and we're still speaking the truth after you murder us. That's the gospel of the kingdom of heaven, folks. So, let's find out where these sewer rats get their arrogance from. Let's find out, because that's what I do. I jump down these rabbit holes and I find out what the fuck is going on. What the fuck is going on here? So what does the term, or the title, it's not a term, it would be a title. You know, these toxic trolls love their fucking toxic troll titles. What does the term esquire mean? So the word esquire can be traced back to Latin, right? The language of Satan, which means shield bearer. So the term was originally used to draw a distinction between the slaves and those who are free. By the Middle Ages, that word had given rise to the French word esquire and was used as a title of dignity to describe criminals above a gentleman and below a knight. Right, so sometimes in the 16th century, esquires became an umbrella term for the holders of various poisonous offices, including justices of the peace, sheriffs, and sergeants. So, then I, the righteous woman, would obviously have a response to this, because I have to have a response to this. So do you see worldwide BARF members among other public servant flying monkeys listed in paragraph 2 believe they are free monsters on the land, or sovereign shit-isons? And you, the shield maker, are their slave, are their property to do with whatever these satanic savages want, including stealing everything you lawfully own. Everything you create is what you own. Because these witches falsely believe that they're above the law. So what you need to understand is, for those who are in a public servant role, they don't have any rights. Like they have no rights when they're functioning in their role, right? And when they're functioning in their reprobate rat public servant role, they have duties, responsibilities, and obligations to serve you. But instead, they're serving themselves to everything you have. How does that work exactly? Okay, so then I fucking rolled across this, right? So, Freeman on the land are parasites peddling pseudo-legal nonsense. Canadian, well, it said lawyer, right? Or judge fights back, but I had to change that, didn't I? Because that doesn't reflect the truth. And this UK human rights blog is written by a BARF member. Oh, yes, it is. Yeah. So you need to understand, I never read Meads versus Meads. I never went in to that poisonous, profane puke that was written down and then filed as public knowledge. I never went in and read it. I'm not going to poison myself. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? But it gets really funny. This is why I'm doing this. This is why I'm doing this public service announcement. Because my father, he is the funniest man I know. He is the funniest man I know. So, the epitome of hypocrisy, the pot calling the kettle black of the typical cursed communist corrupt Canadian court whore, male beast of Belial, lewd liar whose arrogant immoral abomination opinion is completely irrelevant, as it is these wicked monsters called to the bar fraudulently posing as the court whore, in truth the profane poisonous parasites peddling pseudo-legal nonsense. So yesterday I'm watching a presentation on YouTube, and if you watch on YouTube, they have recommendations for you based on what you're watching. Well, I come across, oh, and really, right, like, exactly, your mouth, close that shit. And I'm talking to this thing here who's written this, well, what did they call it? It was just hilarious. A forensic judgment. Yeah, these sewer rats, these profane reprobate fucking barf members, Beast of Belial barf members, they called this Meads versus Meads judgment a forensic judgment. Oh, fuck. Yeah, your mouth, close that shit. Fucking for real, because I'm about to show you something here that just had me, I couldn't breathe. I was laughing so hard. I could not breathe. It was the funniest thing I've ever fucking seen, man. Okay, we're going to watch this together, and I'll stop it when I have something to say.
Morning, afternoon.
Afternoon, no, it's definitely PM, mate.
Yeah.
Right, OPCA, organised pseudo-legal commercial argument.
Yeah.
OPCA litigants is the flavour of the day.
Yep.
Now this came up last year, didn't it? The Meads versus Meads case from our friend Emma over at Malden District Council, and that was one of the responses, or well, we'll call it a response for now. But what they didn't bank on is they didn't bank on you reading it.
Yeah. And the other interesting thing is now it's on all the council's websites around the country.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is clearly what they're holding on to.
Literally holding on to this, and you know, I can't see that many people reading this judgment because it's bloody huge. I mean, I up until just a minute ago, I didn't realise how big this was.
Yeah.
And you went through the whole lot, and we did do a video on that back in, you know, months ago, and it absolutely obliterates what she says. Entirely, doesn't it?
Yeah, so the idea of this is just basically to go through section by section and break the sections down.
Yeah.
People can compare and contrast the arguments and the thinking behind people and that of the state.
Yeah.
And, you know, people can decide for themselves, but I certainly think it'll help people understand and argue fundamentals, because a lot of this is fundamental things.
Well,
lots of waste of time.
Yeah, but what I was going to say is also that Emma's response was actually baseless, because none of what we're doing has got anything to do with OPCA. Probably why we never got a response after the what we sent off to him. But anyway, it is by the by.
Okay. So today what we'll do is just introduce the judgment, and the link at the bottom for it, so people can go through it themselves.
Yeah.
You know, everybody will have their interpretation of it and stuff like that, but hopefully we can give people the essence of it.
And some of it's going to be quite entertaining as usual, funny.
Yeah. Brilliant. Okay, so what I'll do is just start off. It's a little presentation that I've put together, and get rid of that.
Should we just have a little disclaimer about Freeman on the land, just quickly, about you know, we've never said People will say, "Oh, but you say it's nonsense," and all the rest of it.
Well, this is what we'll see as we go through,
Yeah,
because there are some good arguments that people are presenting, and there's nonsense.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're just trying to decipher and show
Yeah,
people what the difference is,
yeah.
basically.
Okay, so we'll leave a link at the bottom. And so where I've got the points at the top, okay, that's the point number in the judgment. But basically, the courts define OPCA stroke Freeman, whatever, D-taxes, sovereign men, sovereign citizens, Church of the Ecumenical Redemption International, Moorish laws, loads of other labels, apparently, and there's no closed list. So they lump anybody who doesn't follow the box as
Whoever questions is put into this category,
yeah.
aren't they?
But essentially, they call them people with conspiratorial perspectives, and where the ordinary person feels cheated or deceived of their rights, and the common person is abused, and that they believe they have guess what, a right to retaliate against the system. How dare the people do that?
Naughty,
And the right to retaliate against suppression. How dare
unbelievable.
people do that? Okay, but this is in the judgment. Okay, so
Yeah,
you can see where they're coming from.
yeah,
It's basically anybody that doesn't do what they told, and they're trying to class this group as vexatious.
yeah,
And so basically, what they say is when they come across an OPCA litigant, it's an abuse of the existing process, where people purposefully say and stand outside the rules and law, and that they're actually, you'll see, they just generally have a different set of rules and law, just not, again, the state's one.
yeah, of course. Yeah,
They allege that people that argue these sort of things have an intent, a positive intent to be abusive, disruptive, and break the legal process that govern conduct. So they really do. Fundamentally, the substance is anybody that questions the existing paradigm, literally, they try and push into OPCA.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
You ask awkward questions, sort of thing. So generally, the purpose of the arguments, not arguments, is that one doesn't have to pay tax, one does not have to pay child support, one does not have to pay spousal support, one does not have to pay attention to traffic laws. They're allegedly secret but accessible bank accounts that contain nearly unlimited funds if you only know the trick to unlock them.
Of course.
You can transfer a bill into a check with a stamp and some colored writing. You're only subject to criminal sanction if you agree to be subject to criminal sanction. You can make yourself independent of any state obligation if you so desire. You can unilaterally force and enforce demands on other persons, institutions, and the state. Now, that they will be talking a lot about, because people will probably notice a few parallels there. Right.
Yeah.
It seems to be exactly the opposite.
Yeah.
They force their demands on other people.
Yeah.
Did you catch that? So this is the epitome of hypocrisy. This Meads versus Meads, pure puke judgment is literal hypocrisy. Can you imagine the nerve of an immoral abomination speaking like this to or about an individual that they are literally on purpose murdering, stealing from, and destroying? Because the Meads versus Meads, it was a divorce case. And because the humans don't understand that when you go get a marriage license, you have joined yourself to be governed by the gruesome goats who pretend to be government. Yes, you've invited them to now decide what will happen to you and your life and all of your property because you went and didn't realize that you invited Satan into your union.
So really, the judge's opinion in this judgment is it's pseudo-legal nonsense. Errors are obvious and manifest, and we'll look at some of these. And the concepts are contemptibly stupid. And then at 77, he says blatantly idiotic. So this is how they label you if you question the existing paradigm that they live in.
Yeah.
So just a few examples of what the point is trying to make is, so Mr. Meads, and that was written as Dennis-Larry Meads semicolon, is the Mr. Meads who appeared in court. He says the Mr. Meads in all capital letters is the one who should pay child and spousal support. So where is Mr. Meads then? Okay. But this here shows you some of the sort of things that they do.
So what's happening with that is this witch is trying to play stupid. The witch is trying to play stupid like it doesn't understand that kind has to deal with kind. And a fiction can only deal with another fiction. Because the court is a fiction, all run by foul, felonious fictions themselves, they can only deal with their own kind. The whorehouses here in Canada are houses of the dead, and they can only deal with the dead. That is why your name on your birth certificate and on your SIN card and on your driver's license is recorded in all capitals. Because you're dead. And so the dead don't speak, do they? The dead can't be heard, right? So that's exactly why that individual, Mr. Meads, was writing down his name that way, and that's why he's trying to explain to this witch pretending to be the bench of bullshit that you're dealing with a man, or, I mean, I don't know if the thing is a man or not. Obviously, it's having a divorce, so that doesn't usually constitute the life of a man. But that thing knows exactly what Mr. Meads is talking about, and yet it's playing stupid, and it's playing stupid on purpose. You know, this has to do with contract law. Kind has to deal with kind. Right? So they're dealing with the person, and a person is a thing. Right? All capital name. Right? Understand?
In regards to the way they present themselves, they use a lot of apparently Latin maxims. Now, that is interesting because the courts are making positive steps to use normal language, so which we've covered in other videos.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Apparently, they use powerful sounding language, and documents are often ornamented with many strange markings and seals, and we'll look at these things. And the litigants engage in peculiar ritual-like in-court conduct. Now, that there is interesting in itself, okay?
What do you mean? Interesting? That's the fucking funniest thing I've ever heard. Because it's those fucking witches who pretend to be the court. They're the ones who are fucking using powerful sounding language. They're the ones who've got fucking ornamented strange markings and seals all over their fucking satanic ritual documents. And they're the fucking assholes they're literally running a satanic ritual on you when you go in there. They're engaged in a satanic ritual, as is everybody in that room who's being paid by that criminal organization. The Provincial Court of British Columbia is a criminal organization. The Supreme Court of British Columbia is a criminal organization. The BC Appeals Court is a criminal organization. Now, the definition of insanity is to do the same thing over and over again, expecting to get a different result. Now, I have been in that fucking whorehouse at 850 Burdett Avenue countless times. Not once was I treated with dignity or with respect. None of my rights were upheld. It didn't matter what I said or what I did or how many hoops I jumped through. The Satanist was going to do what the Satanist was going to do. It was in league with all the other fucking war criminals who had come to steal my property. And I'm left with nothing. I'm left with literally nothing. And I've been told repeatedly by these witches who act as BC Attorney Generals that I have no right to recourse and no right to remedy. Because it's their fucking bat and it's their ball, right? The court is a racket. Do you understand that? So can you see the absolute fucking hypocrisy that's happening with this sewer rat who's pretending to be Alberta Queen's Bench?
Because, again, the mirror reflects.
Doesn't it?
But essentially, the judge's opinion in this case is that what OPCA type litigants do is a medieval alchemy is a helpful analog. So he's making this, drawing that analogy. Alchemists sold their services based on the theater of their activities. So just think about the coronation that recently happened. Just think about the pomp and ceremony of how Parliament operates.
Yeah.
Think about the pomp and, fancy dress in the courts.
Yeah.
Rather than demonstrated results or analytical or systematic methodology. So it's interesting when you see the judge with something like that. And I'm quoting very much from the judgment here. And so it'll be looking at those, comparing, contrasting, so that people can get an idea of what is classed as OPCA, get an understanding of what they're trying to do with you if you basically question the existing system. It becomes this label, divide and conquer. And in that last slide you saw, they claim that it's devoured of basically logic and reason and is just trying to make nonsense up. So we'll look at this over the next few weeks so that people can see the sort of things that they're talking about and make up their own minds if it's who's doing the pomp and ceremony and the theatre. And is there any validity to it? But fundamentally, it's if you question the existing system, have to put a label on you so that they can divide and conquer. And you'll see there's not much substance in much of what's in that judgment.
No.
There's a lot of stupid things, in my opinion. People try different stuff. But at the end of the day, we've got to try and find what works. So,
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. All in all, then, what people will hopefully gain is a much better understanding on what we should be arguing and what we shouldn't be using, and to understand what substance over form really actually means as well.
Yeah, and also what questions to start asking.
Well, that's what it's all about, isn't it? Asking the right questions. Yeah, brilliant. All right, well, that's hopefully it's going to be is going to be quite interesting because I started off 13 odd years ago listening to people talking about a lot of all this stuff, and today I've got a totally different mindset about it. My outlook and opinions have totally changed.
Yeah, but everybody needs to go through their learning curve and test and experience. If we have a choice, either we learn from other people's experiences, or we need to experience them ourselves to
Yeah.
create the motivation to change the way that we do stuff.
I think, Mark, right, what's really, really important is people have got to start challenging not only the courts and the councils, they've got to challenge people that are serving up all this nonsense.
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
They're serving it up, talking, talking, talking. They don't point to anything. They don't give you any references. They don't give you any substance. Some people actually say it's all in their head. I've got it all in my head. I won't mention that particular person's name. Yeah, that's right, mate. It's all in your head. you know.
But the material is about evidence and the scientific method.
got
That's the
got
best
to get the
position
evidence.
of the material.
Listen, if you're gonna listen to someone and they don't like you challenging them, right? You can see by this OPCA argument, right, what happens. Yeah. They start pointing the finger back at you and blaming you, and you're the problem. No, you can't question, you can't do this, you've got to comply, you've got to listen. Right. So these people are no different to what this is all about.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right.
Brilliant.
The end.
Right, so at the end there, we were hearing that what they were saying is that that's the tactics of Satanists, right? When you try to hold a child of the devil to account, they will turn around and accuse you of doing everything that they are doing. Now, I've experienced that for 5 decades. And I'm tired and I've had enough. Now, I'm not sure if I should take you into Twitter right now and show you something that I found the other day, because I'm kind of tired and I should get off of here and go and take care of myself, because taking care of myself is a full-time job when the world hates you and doesn't want you to be here. You know, the physical damage is, well, it's indescribable, isn't it? The physical damage that being hated by the world does to a righteous man or a righteous woman. So maybe I'll do that later, and I'll just leave this the way it is for now, because I know that those who are not of the truth have a very short attention span, and they don't want to listen for the amount of time that it takes to explain the truth, because it does take some time to explain the truth, right? Because there's a lot going on in the lives of the peculiar people all of the time, and none of it's good, none of it's fun, none of it's enjoyable.